The first 7 months of 2021 has been interesting and challenging. Today, I want to give you an update on where we are in the process of moving back into a more permanent facility. But before I begin, I want to give a special thanks to the Venice Japanese Community Center, specifically Kevin Kunisaki and Kelvin Ueda, for somehow getting us permission to use their facility once a month to have our in-person gatherings. And another shout out. We've had 2 and 1 gatherings so far. And once again, you guys, you came out and offered yourselves as amazing volunteers. I want to applaud our amazing volunteers who set up, registered, coordinated, learned how to use new equipment, decorated, greeted, and served in many other capacities. Man, you guys rock. Now, we want to update you guys on all these things, and I'm sure you guys have heard bits and pieces of what's been going on, but not everybody has the full story. And you know what? One of Westlight's values is our transparency. Now, as most of you guys know, our priority is to make sure that everybody is taken care of at Westlight. From the beginning of the pandemic, we realized that we will not rush to regather in person. We even had meetings and discussions about the consequences of being the last church in our community to open. I mean, will we lose people? Will some of our members lose patience with us and go to a different church? But we kept on reminding ourselves of who Jesus is. He always took care of the sick. So we decided to wait a month after the medical and governmental officials declared that it was safe for small indoor gatherings to begin our first phase, which was called Pickup Game. So in the month of April, we encouraged you to gather in huddles if you felt safe to be around others. Then, in early June, our team began planning for our first in-person congregational gathering called And One. Now, right as we were making key decisions on which equipments to pull out of our storage at Richland Elementary School, Lori received a call from Richland's administrator with devastating news. According to the police report, at 7:45 a.m. on June 15th, the plant manager for Richland Avenue Elementary School notified the police that the bins for both Westlight and the school were robbed. Now, on June 14th, the evening prior, the report states that the plant manager secured the school premises and all the locks of the bins were in place. But when she returned the next day at 7 a.m., she found the southern perimeter gate wide open with evidence that the lock was cut. The report states that she found the storage container's lock cut also. The police found a power saw, possibly the tool the thieves used, on the ground next to the storage container. The school lost a power sprayer, which seems to be a common stolen item as of late. So the school notified Lori immediately, and Lori notified me and Daniel. Daniel rushed over to the school to report back to the pastors what had been stolen. We initially estimated that about $20,000 worth of equipment is now missing. At this time, Lori and I had a quick meeting over FaceTime and divvied up our responsibilities. We emailed our board members and team members and began taking inventory of what was stolen and what needed to be replenished by our first And One service. Now, while the task of jotting down missing equipment, going through old receipts, researching replacement gears, and working with insurance companies was pretty manageable, this took an emotional toll on our team. So we made the decision to make our first in-person live service into an in-person large huddle, meaning everything's pre-recorded and everybody gathered to watch a TV screen. Now, at this point, I'd like to take a moment to thank every person from Westlight who offered to help replenish our equipment. I mean, some of you called old friends who were willing to let us borrow their equipment. Others had connections to musical stores that had special discounts. Oh, and we also want to thank our sister churches and the VJCC that offered to lend us their equipment for the time being. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. And as of today, we have purchased about $10,000 worth of equipment, and in increments, we will continue to replenish our gear. For those of you wondering, and yes, a lot of you are wondering because we were asked this question many times, we have theft insurance. Last week, we finalized our list of missing items, and the insurance company has confirmed that they received our insurance claim. And as we receive important updates for this matter, we will be sure to pass it on to you. Now, during this process, we had a lot of discussions regarding going back to Richland. We weighed the pros and cons of returning to a facility we called home for 15 years. Now, some of you have expressed some concern to us about moving back to Richland. You ask questions like, is it safe? Can we install cameras there? Should we move to another facility? Was it an inside job? And if it was, how can we trust the faculty at Richland again? And these are all legitimate and great questions. And after a month of discussion amongst the pastors and board members and a few of you, we have arrived at the conclusion that we feel safe returning to Richland if we are able to go back there. Lori reached out to Principal Granade and shared our safety concerns with him. He told her that he's open to having discussions on an alternative indoor storage solution upon our return. Now, some of you may not know this, but throughout the pandemic, we continued to communicate and continue to serve Richland Avenue Elementary School with We Care packages, desks, and gift cards for the staff. Now, we hope to return back to Richland Elementary School one day and continue building our mutual relationship and continue to bless Principal Granade and the school. Years ago at one of our board retreats, we decided that this is how we're going to experience heaven together in this community. We will bless the school, and the school will bless the families, and the families will build up the community. Now, however, we want to acknowledge the fact that some of you may still feel uneasy about returning. Now, we've heard some of you share with us that you feel vulnerable, afraid, unsafe, even violated. So to address these very real emotions, I want to pass this time off to Pastor Lori.
It's been a month and a half since our AV equipment was stolen, and some of us may be feeling anxious and violated, and some of us may have had those feelings in the beginning, but since then forgot that our AV equipment was stolen, and some of us may have not been affected by the burglary at all. But we as a staff wanted you to know that there are no wrong or right feelings, that your feelings are your feelings and they're not good or bad. And also that the process, the time frame for this process, there's no wrong and right way to kind of go through that process, because it's an individual process and we all process at our own pace, because it's natural for us to feel violated. A lot of times in these situations, the emotional impact of the burglary is more devastating to us than the actual loss of equipment. It's important for us to acknowledge our feelings and to let them pass through, to experience the feelings and to let them pass through us. And we can do that in 3 phases, right? We can process our feelings alone, we can process them with God, and we can process them with safe people. So what is helpful is to listen to one another without trying to solve the problem, or without saying at least. And also to identify with one another and say, yeah, I felt that too. Or to validate our feelings and say, yeah, you know what we went through was big. And it's in this process of affirming one another's feelings and feeling affirmed that we can accept the feelings that we're experiencing, as well as acknowledge them and experience them, and that allows us to process our feelings so that we can get to a place of what Tim said in his June 23rd Dear Westlight, where we can forgive with compassion. I think we as a staff, we want to encourage you to listen to Tim's Dear Westlight again. We want to encourage you to process your feelings with safe people. Feel free to reach out to your life group leader and talk with this, process your feelings with your life group, with one of the pastors, or even with a therapist. And I think most importantly, may we know that God sees us and that He's helping us through every step of the way, in a practical level and at an emotional level, because He loves us and He has our best in mind.
All right. Thanks, Lori. I also wanted to take this time to update you on where we are in the process of moving from phase 2 to phase 3. In case you forgot what phase 3 was, it's when we start gathering in person every single week of the month, with the option of worshiping with us from home via Westlight Live on YouTube. So as of now, the LAUSD has not given us any indication that they are ready to have us or any third-party groups to rent their facilities. Oh, and just so you know, while Principal Granade at Richland Elementary School is eager to have us back, it is the administrators at the district. Those are the guys who gives us the permits to meet there. Also, I don't know if you heard, but Richland's auditorium has recently upgraded, and we wanted to show you some pictures that Lori took when she visited the school. As you can see, they installed rails for safety, and they removed some seats so that it becomes more wheelchair accessible. We think this will suit us perfectly. They also informed us that they have upgraded their air filtration systems. This means all the air that will be blowing through the vents at Richland will be safe and clean. And as mentioned earlier, we don't know when we will be able to return to Richland. We're hoping they will allow us back by January 2022. So between now and then, we will continue to utilize the VJCC. Now, however, I want to remind everybody that the VJCC is a temporary solution. From what I was told, the VJCC does not typically allow religious groups to utilize their facility on a continuous basis, but by the grace of God, they have allowed us to gather there once a month. And we don't want to outstay our welcome, so our facilities team will continue looking for other facilities. I just want to say that we are indebted to the VJCC and will never forget their generosity towards us. So this is what's been going on in 2021. We want to make sure that our church family, you guys, you knew the latest of what was happening since you are Westlight. And we aren't at the end of this long transition yet, but we are inching closer day by day, week by week. So in the meantime, we ask 3 things from you guys. Number 1, please stay patient through this process. When we entered into this 3-phase regathering process, we knew we were in this for the long haul. Now, we don't know exactly how long we're going to be in this current situation, but we feel that we can bring heaven to whatever facility we are placed. Okay, number 2, please continue to care for our community. The church is at its best when we are loving one another selflessly and generously. And finally, number 3, if you have any leads or ideas on facilities, please let one of the pastors or board members know. We will investigate it immediately. All right, I think that's it. You're now caught up. So Westlight, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this journey with us. God bless you, and may you experience heaven together.